Well, good morning, folks, and welcome back to the channel. And if this is your first time here, like I always say, I sure appreciate you stopping in, sure appreciate your support. Guys, this morning, I want you to, over coffee talk, if you will, I want you to think about what miles per gallon means to you and what miles per gallon could mean when we're talking about deer hunting. We'd like to take a minute to thank our great partners, Promised Land Tree Service, Scent Thief, Painted Arrow Outdoors, Wicked Feeder Solutions, Bluebird Drones, DLS Outdoors, Jackhammer Mineral, Full Spectrum Products, Harper Growing Solutions, and Cabela's. So now that I've got your attention and your coffee hopefully is warm and your whitetail brain, whitetail rut brain is in function right this morning, what does miles per gallon mean to you, right? What does miles per gallon when it comes to whitetail hunting, what could that mean? And the reason I started that video out this way, guys, is just that. I think a lot of folks, when you think about like miles per gallon in your pickup, right? You get in your pickup this time of the year, going on a hunting trip, you're looking at miles per gallon. How far are you gonna get, right, on a tank of gas, on a tank of fuel? Well, you could go and get in your pickup and you could leave state of Kentucky and you could head west, or you could be in Michigan and you could head to Illinois, or you could be in Illinois and head to Alabama, right? Wherever you're heading. But if you're in line, if you're going from one place directly to the other, maybe you get 500 miles out of a tank of gas, right? Maybe you're getting 22 mile a gallon. Maybe you're getting good mileage, but it gets you X of that amount of fuel, right, gets you X amount of miles. So that could be, like we said, right, in one direction. But on the other hand, guys, I think the example to that is, and the connection to that is, you could also get that same amount of miles by driving around your entire community 25 times, 50 times, right? Maybe more. And why I say that, guys, is this. I think it's so overlooked when you hear the term during this time of the year about the whitetail rut. So many people and so many studies have been done. Mississippi State Deer Lab, Clemson, all these great research facilities and all this great technology that we have today, right, shows us that a home range of a whitetail buck is 2 to 3 miles. Here's the problem, guys. You have to look at where that is being done, especially like a video I just did not too long ago talking about the Southeast, right? You have to look at where that stuff is being done and when is it being done, right? So, is it being done on large tracts of land, 1,000, 2,000 acre chunks, right? Tracts of land. Is there any hunting pressure in there, right? What is the surrounding hunting pressure? And at the pinnacle of all of that, right, what is the habitat? There's just so much information that sounds great, but a lot of folks don't take that to the next level, and the people that are promoting that information don't go above and beyond to really tell people, listen, this is what's happening right here. Right? It doesn't mean that this is what's going to happen in your community. It doesn't, mean that a piece of ground that has no contour, a community that has no contour, right? The further west you go in the country, there's parts of Illinois, Iowa, Michigan, southern Michigan. The list goes on and on and on that have no contour, not a lot of contour. And you hope that you have density. Well, if you don't have contour, you don't have density. You've got smaller woodlots in the thumb of Michigan. Guys, there are so many variables about how that deer is going to react to that habitat and what that research that's being done really means to your community. That's why I'm so adamant of this time of the year, really drive home just this simple fact: miles per gallon, and simulating and connecting that to a whitetail deer and his movement this time of the year, right? That's why I share that with you guys. Is it's so community driven, region driven, right? You have to go the extra mile to tie that into where you're at and how you react to what's going on, right? So here's a perfect example. There are some folks that, let's say, live in Michigan that have Illinois leases, or live in Alabama and drive to Kansas to hunt, whatever the case is, right? You have to be able to adapt and fit that into that, fit that huntability into your timeline. Also fit it into, speaking of timeline, when are you there, right? Are you there early season? Are we hunting that food to bed pattern? Are we there during the rut? Are we there during the lockdown? What are you hunting? What phase are you hunting, right? But at the end of the day, guys, that miles per gallon connection that I'm speaking of, it's burning daylight hours, trying to burn daylight hours in your community, rather than not having the right habitat. And that buck may go in if he's got enough in the tank, right? Enough fuel in the tank, he may go 3 miles one way, right? There's just a lot of folks that don't understand, guys, when we're talking about habitat improvements. It's not about miles, it's about linear feet, right? So work with me on that. Linear feet make miles, right? Feet make miles. What that is, guys, is if you can burn those footsteps on that property, the goal is when he leaves, he might only go a half mile, to somebody else that's got correct habitat, a 40 that was cut down the road. But in most cases around the community, any community around the country, and then you tie land features into it, but most areas around the community, or the country, guys, community deer hunting communities, Bill might have cut a 40 last year, or Joe cut one 2 or 3 years ago. 5-6 years ago, Larry cut one over here. The deal is everybody is doing timber work, but nobody is actually getting the benefit. Not a lot of people aren't getting the benefit of the full circulation and really taking advantage of what does that 40 acres mean, right? How powerful is that 40? Guys, just the raw outside of a 40-acre parcel, if it's square, let's just say, right? Some are, some aren't. Certain parts of the country, certain states are built off squares, which is great. But there's nothing straight lined in Kentucky, so to speak, right? So what I'm saying is, though, just the perimeter of a 40 acres is a mile, at least a mile, right? That's not, so if we go and make a transition, guys, we build all this beautiful bedding, internal bedding, and keep our stink out of it, and we're able to maybe possibly throw some buck bedding in there, some secluded areas where these bucks can get away from the drama. All of a sudden, guys, you have a mile of linear footage, let's say, right, on your 40 acres. That's without corridors and anything like that. That's just the perimeter of that property. Yes, we're not building a transition on the perimeter, but we might be in 25 yards. We might be in 50 yards. If it's a larger property, we might be in 100 yards, right? Something like that. But if you can build and promote that line of travel, there are just so many properties that I get to, guys, that I often say this, is it's not that the stand location isn't bad, right? Maybe it is your favorite stand location. It's not that that stand location isn't good, right? Like I said, it's that there's nothing that ties to it, right? It's a standalone stand. We have to be able to link all this stuff together. So when you have that linear feet and that pulling power of a buck is wired to possibly move up to 3 miles, right? You don't want that buck moving 3 miles in one direction. You want him moving possibly a mile and a half, at least a half of that. If you got a larger property, maybe you could do the whole thing, right? And you're not going to keep them 365 days a year. That's a separate video. I got actually got tagged and sent a nasty email from somebody out of the southeast after that region I posted about I'm lying to people because I'm trying to tell people that you can house deer and you can keep deer on a property. It's just, you can't do that. Well, I'm here to tell you is you can. And if you're in the southeast and you're viewing this and you don't believe that, you have so much power down there because of the density, like we talked in that video. You don't understand how much that you're actually missing by not having a secure promoted line of travel. Yes, you can house the deer longer. So no, you aren't going to keep them 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's not going to happen. They're built to roam, right? But they are wired to have that 2 to 3 mile, racetrack built in, right? That's how many miles per gallon that they have. That's how many gallons that they can, burn. How much is that energy? When is that time of the year? What is their miles per gallon rating? What do they have available, right? So what I'm saying is, guys, really let this title sink in about how much and what are you doing to your property, whether it's 20 acres or it's 2,000 acres. What are you doing to your property that is giving you the most, letting you tap into the most miles per gallon that buck has? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice to build that promoted line of travel? And the reason I end on that topic, guys, here's what you have to know about whitetail habitat. So a couple topics, I'll wrap it up into one here. Here's what you have to know about building a whitetail hunting property. When you go to build this, when you go to make this decision, you have two decisions to make. One is don't do anything, hang your favorite stand, and hopefully you get lucky. A video coming up here. Hopefully you get lucky, right? Or your next option is, so no pressure on the farm, no feeders, no food plots, no hinge cutting, no bedding areas, nothing, right? No water holes, no licking branches, no anything, just hunting, sign, pinch points, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that because it can be very good, leased properties such as, something like that. The other option that you have is to build and promote a whitetail property. But as soon as you make that decision to build and promote that whitetail property, you are now vested into that property, because if you go into it and you think you're going to go into it, no pun intended, half-assed, if you think you're going in there and you're not going to help that farm be the best that it can possibly be, you're actually fragmenting your farm. The less work you do, the worse your hunt is going to be. So you either don't do it at all or you do all of it, right? That's why, like I say, there's a pecking order. So with my clients, right, we start the process of getting the design built, and then I give you a step-by-step, this is how you build this. If it were my property, this habitat plan is how I would build that property. I've got folks that build it in 3 weeks. I've got folks that build it in 3 years. You can hunt it the entire time, but you have to know a step-by-step. So when you get, let's say it's 8 steps, right? Okay, I always tell my clients, if it's 6, 8 steps, phases, you get to phase 3, you don't have to look back then and say, hey, I just wasted myself a bunch of time or whatever the case is, and now I got to go back and destroy this stuff, right? I didn't remove my canopy like I should have, and I did my hinge cuts. Now all my hinge cuts are dead. Now I got to go in and save them. I'm going to crush them anyway, right? There's a pecking order. There's a process. That's my job. I tell people this, and there's probably a few people watching this that are going to laugh because we just had this conversation. Let me do the thinking. You do the killing. That's my job. That's my job, and my goal is to get you to that finish line quicker, right? Be more proficient. The roots of that property are built off from knowing why and how I'm spinning that deer around and where I'm putting him. So when he's on the property, you can hunt him. You are hunting him just as much as he is hunting you. If you put them two together, right, you are getting the most miles per gallon out of that buck on your property. That's what he has to offer. That's what he wants to do. That's all the linear feet that he can possibly carry himself throughout the day. And you can do it on your property. You just have to believe in the system. You have to learn to have, every time that you go to a stand, like I said, 80% chance or you don't go. You don't have to go to a stand and cheat the system. You don't have to go to a north wind stand on a south wind just because your trail camera is telling you, because you probably aren't going to have a chance to kill him. You might see him, you might not have a chance to shoot him, right? 100 yards from there though, 200 yards from there, each side of that location, there's a spot built for you and him, and that's where you connect. And if you do this in a hole and you take advantage of what he has to offer through his miles per gallon, right? And you burn more of that fuel, let's say, right? You waste more of them mileage on your property, you can take advantage of what a lot of folks aren't doing. This habitat world that we're in, guys, right now has caught fire and it's spreading across the whitetail range. And I am just blessed to be a part of it, right? There's a lot of great folks out there, doing a lot of great things, not only consultants and professional, a lot of you that are watching this, right? A lot of landowners, and we've got some stuff coming this year, guys, that are going to help that situation. A lot of landowners are trying to do this themselves. Kudos to you, right? But you have to be able to think why you're doing this, where you're doing this, and not get caught in this trap of flipping the YouTube channels on and taking this advice, that advice, this advice, that advice, this advice, look into this study. The Southeast can't do what the Midwest is doing. All of a sudden, there's just this tornado, and everyone's minds are all mixed up, and next thing you know, people are trying different things all over the farm. Research who you think has, somebody you connect with. Research, and hope maybe that's me, and I'd be blessed to have the opportunity to help you, whether it's through the channel or actually coming to your property. Believe in that system and know why that system is being built. Rely on one guy to tell you, be honest with you. I'm here, guys, to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And if you let me do the thinking and you just do the killing, your profitability will go through the roof. Your huntability on the farm will go through the roof. Your return on investment is going to be there. But when you start throwing all this mixed nonsense and all these different ideas into it, and you're throwing something at the wall hoping it sticks, you're actually doing your property more harm than you are good, right? So I just want that. I thought of that term the other night. I don't know if anybody's ever used that before or not, but that's just a term I thought the other night. Look at your range or how a buck is moving throughout your community and fit that and look at that as a miles per gallon. What does he have in the tank? How much can he possibly go miles, linear feet? And it doesn't always mean that he's going to go 3 miles one way just because some study said a home range of a whitetail buck is 3 miles. Well, let's think about this, and let's think about, okay, if he's wired to go 3 miles, that doesn't mean that he's taking in 3,000 acres every day, right? He may, once he leaves your property, he may try to tap into some of that stuff. But if they're wired for 3 miles, I can do 3 miles around my living room here if I'm here all day long, right? It doesn't mean that I have to go 3 miles each way every day. And I just think it's just this huge disconnection in the industry right now that's being pushed in this mindset that folks don't really believe in what they can do on a small property. So what happens is they start thinking outside of the box. They start trying to cheat the system. You get yourself in trouble. Just let that miles per gallon thought process sink in. And I believe it'll help you change your mindset during the rut. When folks, this time of the year, guys, I see a lot of folks just like, it's getting to like, You know, a lot of folks think you're in the fourth quarter. You're not in the fourth quarter yet, but a lot of folks think that it's like, okay, it's this do or die, start throwing Hail Marys, start locking themselves in blinds when they shouldn't be there. If you go to it, I'm going to close on this one. If you go to a box blind, right, and you think you're going to cheat the system by sitting in that box blind with the wind at your back instead of at your face, the first thing that tells me when I hear somebody did that, right, the first thing that I know, without even looking at your property, the first thing I know is your farm isn't set up correctly. Your habitat isn't set up correctly leading to that point. Because if you had that set up correctly, you'd be on the other side of the wind, and there's no sense to cheat it. So here you are going in there, probably contaminating your farm on the way in. How'd you get there? The wind just didn't magically switch when you got into the box blind, right? Go in there trying to cheat the system. But little do you know, the whole farm isn't set up for that wind. So guess what happens? The deer isn't there when you're there. I called that to a client the other night. He sent me a message, told me where he was. I don't think that's probably what the wind is. So I looked, because it's not here. It's 3 hours from here. Told him that he shouldn't be sitting there because why are you sitting there? Because that's not the right wind for that deal. Well, I seen a buck going towards this location in the morning. Guess what? I told him he wasn't going to see the deer. Guess what? He didn't see the deer. Why? Because it's not good for him. It's good for you. You think it's good for you. You're trying to cheat it, and it's not that way. So long-winded kind of a rant here, if you will, guys, but just please let this topic, miles per gallon, maybe start chewing on your brain a little bit and get comfortable with that terminology when we're talking about the rut and where and what these deer are looking for and how far do they really go during the rut. Thanks, guys.